Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. Game delays are abound, Kakarot is nearby, we have Byleth and Smash, but I'm going to talk about Bethesda today. Originally, I had a different video planned. I was going to talk about DBZ Kakarot, but I thought I'd wait for tomorrow, give you guys some impressions on that instead. What I want to talk about today is what I truly don't get about Bethesda, and this is emphasized by their latest patch notes for Fallout 76 where they talk about Vault 94. It's an issue I've brought up multiple times in the past, but people are like, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that. And now I have 3 consistent examples of Bethesda doing this very weird thing with different games, and I want to talk about it with you guys today and sort of bring some attention to it. It's not a hate piece, it's actually valuable constructive criticism if anything, and it benefits even fans of Fallout 76. But like I said, I don't get this about Bethesda, so let's get into the patch notes, which will be linked in the description down below. We're not going to focus on the stuff they mentioned about Wastelanders because it's about the PTS and whatever, and I sleep quite honestly. So what I want to focus on here is just the Vault 94 section. Last year, we were excited to open the door to Vault 94 and bring you repeatable high-level content in the form of Vault raids. Through community feedback we received and our own monitoring since that time, we've decided that Vault 94 and its missions are not delivering the quality of experience that we had hoped to provide. As a result, we are currently planning to shut down Vault 94 alongside the release of the Wastelanders update, which we do not have a release date yet. While that update is still a little ways off, we wanted to give you early notice so that you will have plenty of time to complete some more Vault missions if you choose before we seal up Vault 94 indefinitely. When the Vault is disabled, we are planning to make all of its rewards, including the exclusive power armor sets and Vault Steel, achievable through other means. We don't have information to share on how and where you will be able to earn those rewards right now, and then be sure to keep an eye out for those details when Wastelanders arrives. Now, for those who don't know, about 4 months ago, this patch that included Vault 94 dropped, and I made a video about it because for every update that Fallout 76 got that included new gameplay changes or new things to experience, I would live stream them. And my video was called Fallout 76's latest update literally broke my game. And what I did was essentially broke up pieces of that stream and highlighted parts that really fell apart alongside my own commentary. And as you're seeing in the background, these are some of those highlights. I get really loud in the stream and the video. I'm not going to break your ears with that here today. I just want to show you guys essentially what the update brought. Now, these Vault raids were buggy in the terms of performance. The frames would drop constantly. Item spawns were not consistently working. It was very confusing and poorly designed. You could tell very much this was Bethesda's true first raid. And so the feedback was there that Bethesda had to make changes, right? And now they're making this adjustment of just outright removing it 4 months later. And I admire Bethesda's ability to be patient, see how things can develop, see if the feedback is consistent, see if it's not just immediate outrage, and given their status of the game, I think that knee-jerk reactions are the thing that they could stay away from. But 4 months is a really long time when the feedback was really there from across the community. And you may be just thinking, Matty, this is one example. But then we have to look at survival mode, which was really something I thought could fix Fallout 76, right? Like, it on paper had all the adjustments that were needed. There were a ton of shackles in the base Fallout 76 gameplay that made player encounters this orchestrated type of environment, whereas with survival mode, the shackles were off. So you could engage with someone, you could trade with someone, you could betray someone. When you died, you lost aid items, which essentially were like your drugs, your stim packs, your water, and that ups the ante a little bit, right? So I thought that on paper, survival mode was going to help fix Fallout 76, and that dropped on March 26th of 2019. And it wasn't until October 1st that Bethesda had responded to the feedback of the survival mode and decided to, just like with this Vault raid, completely remove it from the game and say, we'll get back to it later. What you've seen twice in a row now were consistently half-baked features forced into the game, and when they didn't pan out in Bethesda's favor, instead of fixing them, they decided to outright remove them. And what's going to happen is they're going to add these back eventually in hopes that other parts of the game sort of float above it to the top, right? Because how can we trust that they'll return in a stable manner if, for example, we have the survival mode, which was around for over half a year, and Bethesda still didn't get around to fixing a lot of the major complaints that came alongside this mode. And that's what's awfully strange about Bethesda, is their time that they're taking to get things done and ultimately just removing content. And this also carries over into a separate game, one that I've talked about quite a bit, Elder Scrolls Blades, where in update 1.5, 8 months after the game had launched, when feedback was immediate on arrival, chest timers are getting in the way. Bethesda tried to tiptoe around it. They did light changes to it, but ultimately your chest capacity would fill up. You would have these insane timers and you just wouldn't be able to play the game. And 8 months later, Bethesda removed the chest timers and they also added a major loot overhaul. And for that was when this conversation started, right? Where I was like, why did Bethesda wait so long for this? The initial assumption was, well, their player base probably died off. They're trying to reinvigorate things. So they're adding this type of update back into the game so that more people can sign in and Bethesda can continue to generate revenue with Elder Scrolls Blades. But then you look at this consistency where it takes over half a year with survival mode, and there's some augments here and there throughout its lifetime, but for the most part, they just end up saying, get rid of it. Same thing with Vault 94. Granted, it took a little bit less time, and as you can see, each time in these events, it gradually decreases. We went from 8 months to about, I think, 6 or 7 months to now 4 months. But still, ladies and gentlemen, the point being is that Bethesda's taking a substantial amount of time to respond to major issues with the game, major pieces of content not working or not functioning as they should. Now, one thing that should be accounted for is patch certification does take longer than I think most people are aware of. Pretty much what happens is when you submit your patch, it's not just like you upload a video on YouTube. You click a button, you can walk away and it'll get there, right? You just have to wait for it to process and that's it. Now, when you submit for a patch, you have to let Microsoft certify it, you have to let PlayStation certify it. So that's why the console updates take a little bit longer, whereas PC, there's less of a process there. And furthermore, if you're in early access, there isn't a certification process at all. That's why Fortnite, all these years later, does remain in early access, because Fortnite has all this money to spend and they have to wait zero amount of time to put any of the updates in, which is why they're doing something truly unprecedented with that game and why it was so popular and consistently changing, because they sort of found a little loophole in the system, and once that game found success, they completely abused it. Whereas Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Blades, I'm not sure entirely because that is a mobile game, but it's also on the Switch, so I'm not sure how the patch process works for that. But do keep in mind there is a certification process which does hold these updates up a little bit, but it doesn't take 4 months. It doesn't take 6 months, right? We've seen developers quickly process their patches in a week, a month tops, right? It does take longer for some patches to get through. Not going to disregard that. But this is kind of what I wanted to hammer home in today's video, because ultimately what it's showing is something in the communication over at Bethesda, right? You have like multiple levels. You have the developers in the middle, and then you have the communication team who reads the feedback, delivers it to developers. They work on the issues. And then you have overhead, I'm guessing, who's sort of talking to Bethesda in general and saying like, yeah, you will want to fix those chest timers, but not right now. We're making a lot of money. Okay, we just saw a 25% dip in our player base. Hit the process button on that patch and boom, get it out there, right? So I'm starting to think there's that type of line of communication from Bethesda where it's community feedback gets to the team pretty much immediately. I do know a lot of people work at Bethesda. I'm pretty confident that a lot of that feedback immediately goes to the developers because they are passionate people. And I think personally that the people who work on these games at Bethesda also care, which is why you saw a lot of people leaving Bethesda late last year. And that leads to maybe some of the overhead having a lot more stuff to say, I guess, about what's happening with the products at Bethesda. That's just my speculation. I don't think it goes as deep as the patchwork. I just think what we're seeing here with Fallout 76 is probably not a good precedent to set for the game of waiting this long for changes to come to stuff that's not working as well. And then when the time comes, Bethesda just ultimately decides to remove it and say, we'll get to it later. It's kind of this weird form of procrastination in a video game. I don't think I've ever seen a title like Fallout 76, which is added content. It's not been that great, and then they've removed it twice now. It's awfully strange. I know it fits the mantra, it fits the narrative of Fallout 76, and so for some people it's funny, but I just look at it and it's kind of crazy. It's really insane. But ultimately, this is what I wanted to talk about in today's video and just bring to light a subject I've talked about lightly in the past, but I haven't had the culmination of details and events to fully fortify an argument about it. But now this is just, like I said, constructive feedback for Bethesda that it's not like you got to rush out updates, but A, you got to be quicker, and B, this is where communication between the fans and the teams come into play. I think Bethesda does a good job with their Inside the Vault series, where they're very descriptive with their patches and decisions they made. I think that process is quite good, but with the way they take so long to get little updates out like this and ultimately deciding to rip it out of the game, they don't properly explain that. They just go, oh, it didn't pan out, we're taking it out and we'll work on it later. And we have such a substantial update like Wastelanders coming, right, which is supposed to entirely change the game. There's obviously going to be patchwork with that. And it's like, how far back now is survival mode pushed? How far back now is the Vault 94 raid pushed? And what about other raids? Can we trust other raids will be good, right? It's like a very sticky situation when you think deeper on it, which is why I wanted to talk about it more. Does it impact people who don't play Fallout 76? No, but it's something to be aware of for future Bethesda games. For example, Starfield. I have confidence that Starfield can be a great game, right? I trust that Bethesda can still make a competent single-player game. I think, if anything, Fallout 4 is a testament to that because that's their most recent single-player launch, and while it's not perfect, I think that, oh, geez, set myself up for that one, didn't I? While it's not near perfect, it's still something that I think is a respectable product in a lot of ways, and I hope that what they do release improves upon Fallout 4, but I think that title alone does showcase that Bethesda can still make a good single-player game, and so that's why I want to make people aware of this type of stuff, because it may not affect you with 76 or Blades, but let's say Starfield releases with something that's completely busted or not functionable. What happens then, right? What's the patch process then? Does Bethesda wait that long and then not get anything out there? We have to remember, this is the same company that had bugs in Fallout 4 that carried right into Fallout 76. Sometimes Bethesda doesn't get around to patching these things at all, and I know they have the infamous name Bugthesda. Trust me, I know. I'm just saying, though, it's strange. It's strange what they've done to handle the situation with Fallout. So ultimately, that's all I have to say in today's video. I do hope you guys look forward to something a little different tomorrow with some DBZ Kakarot impressions. I'm really looking forward to playing the game. It's one I've been anticipating since its announcement. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. So let me know what you think of this update in the comments down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Big thank you to all the patrons who continue to support me. We actually have hit a new record high of patrons, and I really appreciate you guys believing in what I do here enough to support me over there. It means the world. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for giving me your time today, and I'll talk with all of you soon. Do consider supporting my Patreon as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.